Back during the American Revolution, there were a group of men who had to ride through the city of Boston to alert the rebels when the British were coming. Among them was a man named Paul Revere. Within minutes of setting out on this important mission, Revere was caught and arrested. He couldn't alert anyone or anything the British were coming. Yet, because a poem was written where it was named that he was the writer, it is believed in most places that he was the only one and successful at it, no less.
Wow, you really lucked out. But I thought this was Pirate Week.
It is. I'm just giving an example of being in the right place at the right time.
What are you saying?
Hey, lore lovers! We are kicking off Pirate Week with the most notorious pirate of the seven seas. You probably have heard of him. In fact, most likely we've all heard of him. A murderous, greedy man with a black beard and eyes as cold as death. That's right, we're talking about Blackbeard.
Wait. The title of the video says it's about Edward Teach.
Yes, he became known as Blackbeard. I'll cover that in the video, but to my knowledge, nobody was ever born with the name Blackbeard. Back then, we didn't have the most accurate of records, unless you were born in royalty. It is believed that Edward Teach was born somewhere around 1680, and really not much is known about his life. We know he did serve as a privateer in Queen Anne's War, and after the war he settled in New Providence in the Bahamas. From there, he joined the pirate crew of Benjamin Hornigold. He became captain in one of Hornigold's sloops, or ships, in 1716. Another pirate captain serving under Hornigold was Stede Bennet, who we'll mention later in the story. A little over a year after Blackbeard joined Hornigold's services, Hornigold retired, taking most of his ships with him. Bonnet and Teach parted ways at this point as well, and Teach took most of the crew. As one of his first acts of piracy on his own, Blackbeard captured the French ship La Concorde. He renamed it as his flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge. It was equipped with 40 guns, and there was over a 300-man crew on board. Soon after this, Blackbeard and Bonnet formed an alliance. They created a blockade in Charlestown, South Carolina. They ransomed ports and plundered ships coming in. The alliance eventually disbanded and the blockade ended, and around this time is when Blackbeard heard of a mutiny upon his ship. During a celebratory dinner, Blackbeard shot the knees of his first mate, saying this is what happens to mutineers. Now, piracy was a huge issue in the colonies in the Caribbean. In hopes of ending the plague of piracy, a royal pardon was issued for every pirate. Blackbeard ran the Queen Anne's Revenge onto a sandbar. He had all of his men load the treasures from the Queen Anne's Revenge onto one of his other ships. It wasn't until around this time that his crew realized Blackbeard was leaving them behind. He left the ship packed with gold and other treasures, along with his most trusted crew, and left everybody else on that sandbar to die. However, Stede Bonnet arrived a couple days later and saved the maroon pirates from the sandbar. Blackbeard retired from piracy in June of 1718 in Bath, North Carolina. He accepted the royal pardon. He was a free man. And he was well off. He even married a plantation owner's daughter. Now, according to some stories, although this hasn't been confirmed, there were other pirates raiding North Carolina and claiming it to be Blackbeard. This brought him out of retirement to reclaim his name. However, this isn't exactly the case. Though pirates were pardoned, they weren't exactly accepted in society.
Can you imagine you're at the market and barely have a penny to your name because some pirate took all of your money? Then you see them buying groceries with your money? How angry would you be?
Exactly, and not just that. Pirates were, and still are, criminals. Murderous thieves willing to do almost anything for a quick dollar and then spend it on sex and alcohol. They weren't exactly reputable, let alone holding up the Christian values of the time. You may have been a pardoned pirate, but there were even laws that former pirates were not allowed to gather in groups of 3 or more. Most people, although you were pardoned and maybe even trying to better your life, treated you like a leper. So it wasn't much of a surprise when reformed pirates returned to piracy. So although Blackbeard was living a peaceful life, he grew restless. Governor Eden allowed Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard, to have a license in privateering. Now, if you remember from a previous video, I mentioned the difference of privateering and piracy. Privateering is the exact same as piracy, except you have a license to do so, and most of the rewards that you plunder goes to the government. And I mean most. Most contracts with privateering allowed the government to take up to 90% of whatever you got. With Blackbeard's new ship, the Adventure, he returned to the seas to pillage and plunder once more. But after giving up most of his rewards to the crown, he didn't like that. He was the one doing the job. It wasn't fair at all that he had to give the lion's share to the government. So he soon stopped sharing with them. He met up with Charles Vane, who is also suspected of returning to piracy, and Lieutenant Robert Maynard was tasked with stopping Blackbeard. Now, this is the interesting part. Maynard didn't have permission from the crown to go after any pirate. For the Royal Navy to get involved, they needed approval from the crown, unless they were considered a crisis to colony life. And it was the governor of Virginia who declared this crisis, even though Blackbeard and other pirates stayed around the North Carolinas and southwards. But this was because most Virginians looked down on the Carolinas as if they were backwater trash. And the governor didn't trust the Carolinas to fix the problem before it got too late. Lieutenant Maynard found Blackbeard off Ocracoke Island. He hit most of his men below deck and lured the pirate into battle. According to records of first-hand accounts, the battle was so bloody, the decks were flooded with blood. Most men who stayed atop were slaughtered from Blackbeard's men. As the smoke settled from cannon fire, Blackbeard and his men boarded the ship to kill the remaining men on board. They encircled the handful that were still alive, and at this point, Maynard sprang the ambush, and everybody from below decks came aboard. The battle was messy. People were slipping from the pools of blood already on the decks. And, as legendary as it sounds, Blackbeard was the last pirate to fall. It took 5 gunshots and 20 stabs and slashes from cutlasses to bring him down. He collapsed in front of Maynard, where Maynard delivered the 21st blow in decapitating the pirate. He threw Blackbeard's body overboard and hung his head as a trophy at the front of his ship. Now, according to legend, Blackbeard's body swam 3 lengths of the ship before finally sinking to the depths and joining Davy Jones's locker. Maynard kept the head as a warning to other pirates that this is what's going to happen.
He swam the length of the ship 3 times without a head? And you can't even swim!
You can't either!
Not everything is about me, Tara.
Unlike most pirates of this time, Edward Teach didn't turn to violence right off the bat. He preferred psychological warfare. His flag wasn't the Jolly Roger that we all know, the skull and crossbones. It was actually the devil, holding an hourglass and a spear pointed towards a heart. This meant that if you encounter us, your time is limited. We will kill you. Blackbeard, as you may have guessed from the name, had a thick black beard and equally long, dark, and thick hair. Before battles, he would hide cannon fuses and light them throughout his hair, so smoke swirled around, making him a distorted vision of what he actually is. And being somewhere between 6 foot 4 inches and 6 foot 6 inches, he towered over others. People claimed alone that because of this horrific image, that he was the devil himself.
Wow, No wonder you like him. He's more dramatic than you are.
However, in all honesty, he wasn't the best pirate. More pirates managed to obtain more riches than he did. The only reason why Blackbeard is as fearsome as he is now is thanks to Captain Charles Johnson. He wrote the general history of the robberies and murders of the most notorious pirates in 1724. This was about 6 years after Blackbeard died. And Captain Johnson used artistic license to paint Blackbeard as a colorful, nefarious character. He glorified him, turning him into the stereotypical pirate that we all know and love today. Edward Teach, or Blackbeard as he became known as, has become the king of pirates. He is the epitome of what a pirate is believed to be. Black-hearted, evil, greedy, selfish, and murderous. Though he was by far a bloodthirsty devil, he wasn't afraid of killing anybody if he had to. He will forever be a villain in history and be the most famous pirate during the golden age of piracy. Well, Lord Lovers, what do you think? Would you return to piracy after being pardoned? Would you be violent or more of a psychological thriller of a pirate? Do you believe Blackbeard's body swam the length of the ship 3 times? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you liked today's video, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification icon to be alerted for when the next video becomes available. Also, share this video so others can learn about the infamy of Blackbeard the Pirate. Until next time, lore lovers, stay away from Davy Jones's locker.